Jordan Peterson stuns a table of geniuses on the book of Exodus in this 2-hour and 20-minute video. So we're going to be going to just the most viral replayed part of that video and be talking about it. Okay, my name is Aaron. Welcome to the channel. If you like this type of stuff, I do Christian commentary on culture. Hit subscribe, hit the like button, and let's get right into the video here. And I realized that I don't belong at this table, so this is why I'm making a video. Let's get right into it.
Well, and here's something that's relevant to that too. So I know neuropharmacologically, I studied.
First of all, what is that? What does that mean? Probably something with the brain.
Pleasure as a biological mechanism, and the intense pleasure that's associated with joy and enthusiasm. So enthusiasm is to be filled with God, theos, and theos. It's to be filled with the Spirit of God. You do not experience joy as a consequence of achieving a goal. You experience joy as a consequence of positing a goal and then noting progress towards the goal. And so a corollary of that is that the higher the goal, the more intense the joy attendant on observation of progress towards it. And so then you might say, if you wanted to maximize the possibility of hedonic expression, not to degenerate into a cheap hedonism, but to maximize it in the most real sense, and this is a Viktor Frankl idea in some fundamental senses, you pick the most noble possible goal. And that's the mountain, that's service to God, again, by definition, right? Because it's service to the highest thing, whatever that is. And then that opens the door. That does literally open the door to it's a precondition for the experience of joy. And so these people who are depressed and anxious and miserable, part of the reason for that is that their ethic is scattered. Their goals are diverse and low level. There's nothing beckoning in the distance. And so they can't see progress because there's no progress, and certainly not progress to a superordinate goal. So there's actually no positive emotion. And that's technically the case because the positive emotion system is a calibration system that produces navigation orientation towards a destination point. That's literally how it functions. So
I think you just described the whole book of Exodus just right there. Like that's
right.
Really what Exodus is.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's
like
the journey
the
to the promised
scattered,
land.
mixed multitude that is gathered into, and you can experience that in yourself as much as in a people or in anything actually functions that way.
And
anything you can identify.
I think he was using a lot of $2 words for my little lizard brain to comprehend, but let's attempt this. He is saying, Jordan Peterson, JP is saying that to attain joy, it is not just the accomplishing of a goal, but the setting of a goal and then tracking the progress in reaching the steps in reaching towards that goal. And that people who don't experience joy in their life, their goals are scattered and low level, is by his words, and it's impossible to track progress. So they attain no joy. And that he's saying that the book of Exodus is actually the attempt at achieving the highest possible joy a human can attain. Now, I've got a couple problems with this, especially coming from a Protestant perspective here, and it's that when we look at the 10 Commandments, we will quickly see how impossible it is to attain the 10 Commandments, to completely and perfectly fulfill it. Okay, you shall have no other gods before me. This is commandment number 1. Well, at any given moment, at any given time, our gods shift, and it could be I don't know, like I could have God as like the primary, the number one spot in my life, but then a day goes by and then I'm thinking about money or I'm thinking about relationships. Those take the number one spot. There's no possible way every second of every minute of every day of every month of every year I can attain that, keep that commandment all the way through all the time. And that's just like, this is the first commandment, right? Don't lie. Well, there's so many variabilities of not lying. Don't covet. That's something within. That's number 10, right? Don't want something that's doesn't belong to you. That's like, So when we are trying to achieve an infinite joy, right? Posited by an infinite God, and the roadmap and the traction is that we have to completely and perfectly obey the 10 commandments. We now see that as impossible. So what Jordan Peterson, I'd have to respectfully disagree, and who am I? I'm just a lizard brain. But this is from my perspective, is that in a temporal sense, in this world, I agree with him, right? It just makes sense. You set a high goal, high enough goal, and you try to accomplish it. Like with building a business, you made a website. Okay, that's one step. Oh, good job, pat on my back. However, on a spiritual, eternal sense, especially in what the book of Exodus talks about, is that it actually steps to try to achieve that goal causes more anxiety, not joy. Okay. And even in a temporal sense, sometimes it's like more anxious. Like if you set a goal of starting a business and you get one thing done, and sometimes you get buried in the anxiety of like, oh, but there's, 15 more steps to do or 15 more tasks to complete. And so actually, maybe it doesn't create joy, maybe in some small sense, but I could also make the argument, and you let me know, does setting a lofty goal and making steps to that goal, does it also produce anxiety in your life? And so we take that into the spiritual sense, or the infinite sense, eternal sense. If it's eternally an infinite high, you now only have anxiety because you know you can't accomplish that. Where in the Bible now Jesus Christ comes into the equation, in that he accomplished this goal perfectly. He fulfilled the 10 commandments in the law perfectly, and in the law there's over 630, I forget exactly the number, laws to complete. That he did it all perfectly. And so now we have, and he gives that righteousness or that achievement or victory to us, right? On the cross, he gave that to us. This is the teaching of the Gospels, right? So that now we have already attained it without having to do the steps, without having to complete that morality ladder, that morality steps. But you would say, hey, as a Christian, you are bound to be moral and just and upright. And I would say, yes, of course. But we don't strive for righteousness and for that ultimate joy. We already have it. So why would we do that stuff? Well, because I'll give you an example. One time I was screwing in some screwdriver into some wood, and I would drill the screw into the wood, pre-drill it, and all my daughter has to do is take the drill and just pull the trigger and it goes right in. Well, these are the steps that I've already laid out for her, but she gets joy but no anxiety because I've already done it. I've done all the work. It's already set for her. The good works are already set for her to complete. And in the same way, God the Father has already accomplished the tasks set before us, and that it's by his power, like a father, that we drill the hole in or complete the task, and we walk within righteousness to try to accomplish these things. But if we slip and mess up, we don't lose that ultimate joy and goal that we are trying to attain because we already have it. Okay, so it's the best of both worlds. We have the joy of marking progress towards it, and the joy of actually attaining it. Now, those are some lizard brain thoughts. Let me know if you agree. Let's continue with this because we still haven't gotten to the most viral part.
There is no vision of people perish.
Right, exactly.
Where other cultural norms are so degraded.
It's also the danger of dispensing with an ideal, because the problem with ideals is that every ideal is a judge. So the ideal of beauty is a judge, because who of us compares to the ideal beauty? And the answer is no one, and we all know it. And so the ideal is a catastrophe in that sense.
It's a raging
right?
fire that can consume you.
Yes, exactly. But if there's no ideal, there's no goal. And if there's no goal, then there's no joy. And so what are we going to do? We're going to dispense with our ideals so we don't hurt anybody's feelings. And what we're going to dispense, well, that's exactly what we're being called upon to do. And so we're going to abandon joy. And unless you have the ultimately judgmental ideal, it's so perverse. Unless you have the ultimately judgmental ideal, there's no precondition for joy. God.
But back to Stephen's thing about the funeral and the reality, the history. In other words, psychology and lots of things, you can throw incredible interpretive light. But the highest thing here is that God is the actor in this, and it happens in history. So the surrounding...
Wow. God is the actor. It's happened throughout history. Yeah, I like that guy. Who's that old guy? I like that guy.
Surrounding nations, all their festivals were festivals of nature, spring and so on. The Jewish festivals are festivals of history, and they're taught to follow them as if they were there, maybe centuries later. In other words, you've got to keep always that history is the decisive thing here, and in light of history, you bring in psychology. I happen to be trained sociology, bring it in. But history and meeting God, you're into pretty heavy philosophy. Yeah.
You see here, too, that what's put in the highest place, which is so fascinating, is the spirit that calls you to freedom out of tyranny, right? As we said before, even if it calls you into the desert to begin with. And so it's quite the conceptualization of God, is that part of whatever is to be properly put in the highest place is exactly the spirit that calls you out of tyranny. And so, all right.
Well, so I think what he's saying, the other old white guy, is, I like him, is that this has already happened. God has already acted in history. The reason why they celebrate festivals of history is because it already happened. God already set people free. He already rescued people from sin and death. He already freed people from tyranny. But I think Jordan Peterson is attacking it from a psychological frame of mind. Like, hey, we are still enslaved in tyranny, and I wonder how that works itself out within history, right? And I they don't go into that as much, but I'm willing to dive into that a little later too.
Right. Well, let's finish off this chapter. And he said, "Draw not nigh hither." This is God talking. "Put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground." Again, I'm reminded of the fact that this is likely something like a call to humility. I was looking at the Sermon on the Mount the other day, and Christ says in the Sermon on the Mount that those who are poor in spirit are blessed. There's many people who are blessed, but the poor in spirit are blessed. And the question is, what does that mean? And it means something like those who have been brought low enough to be humble enough to be ready to receive. And I think that's what's being echoed here, is that that's part of the reflection of Moses' nakedness.
That's the best explanation I ever heard.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It took me only 40 years to think of that.
That really helps. Because I've never thought, the poor are so special. They're wonderful poor and lousy poor.
No, it's definitely a reference to pride. The poor in spirit are not prideful and narcissistic. I looked in Bible Hub, which is a great site.
Right.
You can see 50 translations simultaneously.
Right. Yes.
And so you get the full connotation of the phrase. And if you look at all the different translations, you can see that it's definitely a call to this particular kind of humility. Because one of the things I learned when I was teaching my course, Maps of Meaning, was that you could decide that you were going to be friends with what you knew, or you could be friends with what you didn't know, right? And so if you're friends with what you know, you try to prove your point all the time. And I'll fall prey to that from time to time. But once you realize the depths of your ignorance and you think, well, what I don't know is inexhaustible, and my troubles are inexhaustible, so I better have an inexhaustible source to call on, and I can certainly call on the inexhaustibility of my own ignorance. And it reverses everything, because all of a sudden the fact that you don't know is actually your greatest hope, because there's always the possibility that if you lowered yourself, Jung said, modern men do not see God because they do not look low enough. It's so brilliant. And if you can make friends with your own ignorance, then you open up the landscape of revelation to everything you don't know. Well, that's so good if you have a problem, because the reason you have a problem is because you don't know something. And so this is definitely an injunction there, is that the place whereon thou standest is holy ground. And if you're on holy ground, and maybe you're always on holy ground, you should have your damn shoes off and your eyes open. And yeah, well, that'd be a terrifying thing to apprehend. All right, gentlemen.
All right. Yeah, so I think what he said last right there was really key, is that the humility that one needs to attain the kingdom of heaven, or to even approach God Almighty. Like you can't. He hates a haughty heart, right? Basically, he hates a prideful heart. God being that, and really anyone hates that pride. I think I'd want to pull up what it shows in Matthew here, and this is what he was in referencing to the Sermon on the Mount. He's saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." And that really is a description of the Christian. Like, these are descriptions, 8 descriptors of the Christian who inherits the kingdom of heaven is humble, right? The Christian who mourns, mourning being in relation to sorrowful for your sin, will be comforted by God. blessed and you know is the meek, because God loves the meek, right? The humble. Blessed who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. And I think this one's more relevant because it's not that they will fill themselves, is that something extra out external will fill them if you thirst and hunger for righteousness, which comes back to our goal, right? Our goal to attain the highest level of joy, we must set before ourselves the highest goal, which is complete righteousness before God, right? And that being the case is impossible. So if we just hunger and thirst for righteousness, that we will be fulfilled. And I think that's really insightful of Jordan Peterson. I agree wholeheartedly there, that is a call for humility. And in your humility, when you could reach down and say, like, the more humble you could get, and not like a fake humility or reverse humility, but like you really say, like, wow, yeah, I have no concept for understanding this or whatever. Then you really unlock true joy. You really unlock the possibilities. And he does say it, and I agree. It reverses your outlook on life. Now you're not in a cage or a prison of your own ego, but actually the cage is out, and you could then learn and grow and attain joy at its highest levels. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you think about some of these other videos I make on Jordan Peterson, especially when he talks to Vivek in this crazy clip somewhere around here. Love you. Keep on watching. Hit the like button. I'll see you guys in the next video.